welcome to the TA podcast. I'm so glad to have you guys. I watched your podcast with G. Edward Martin, and it was a wonderful podcast. And I'm glad he recommended me or recommended you to come to me. And then I just finished your book this morning.
Oh,
I'm
great.
going
Oh,
to
no
be up to date on it,
way.
so we can actually talk about what's inside of it.
That's
Good.
amazing.
Well, I
So,
always
Don,
have to
we
say,
should go ahead.
no, no, go, you go.
I was going to say, Don, we should honestly be interviewing Lynn because you may not know this, but she is a mom of two little kids. She has
Yeah.
multiple books on the market and she is running a podcast. Like when I
Well,
had children that age, I was literally maybe updating my Facebook status. So, like, super impressed with Lynn.
I can't remember any of my life when my kids were that age. It's just like one big blur. Where was I even there? I don't know. I may have
I
not
don't
been there
know.
because they turned out pretty well. So,
That's true.
No, it goes so fast. I know everyone says that, but like I have a 3-year-old and it just feels like she was born yesterday, even though my other one was born yesterday, basically. So it's just so fast.
I never give advice on parenting, but my advice on parenting is hang on because it does go incredibly fast.
I know.
Enjoy every second of
I hate it. I hate and love it.
it. Yeah.
Well, see, I'm happy to talk to you guys and do another one where you interview and talk with me about more. I mean, I'm fine talking about books in general. I just love the whole writing process. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the fact that you co-wrote a book together because me and another member of my team just did that, and that is a full experience, is writing with another author.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, for those that don't know, this is Anna Henkens Schmidt. Did I say that correctly?
Yep,
Yes.
Anna Henkens Schmidt.
And Donald Osborn. They are the writers, co-writers of Where We Land. This is a story on Donald's
Yay.
adventure being a pilot. And Anna, you said in Greg's podcast that you did journalism, and so that's why you guys kind of came together to do this project,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's dive right into it. First and foremost, before we get too far, Don, I do want to say thank you for being a pilot because I mean, I'm aware being on planes that the pilots have a huge responsibility, but this like gave me another understanding of
Good.
just all the responsibility of it. And thank you for keeping us safe, for transporting mail, organs, and helping with Haiti.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I always say, if it wasn't for the passengers and somebody else's schedule, it'd be one hell of a good job.
right. No one would be on it. Anna, what inspired you to become a journalist?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a writer from a very young age, but I was somehow a very practical child. And so I realized from a young age that making money and supporting myself as a writer was an admirable dream, but maybe not a realistic one. So I decided, like, how could I make money and still do what I love? And I stumbled upon journalism. And then, kind of a funny side note, you're probably too young to remember this show, but my favorite TV show was Lois and Clark Superman, who had Dean Cain in it. And I was maybe slightly borderline obsessed with Dean Cain. Okay, not borderline. I was very obsessed with Dean Cain. And because he was the guy who played Clark Kent and Superman. And so I loved that whole concept. And I'm like, ooh, being a reporter sounds so much fun. And so that's kind of, it was my practical side and then a celebrity crush that got me interested in journalism.
So you want to be Lois Lane?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He wants to be Superman, trust me.
I
I
don't know.
tried
You
to
talk
cut my hair like hers and it never worked out.
I say, Don, you talk about being Superman a lot in this book, so it sounds like you guys had the same kind of idea there.
He might be my alter ego. I'm not sure.
No, that's awesome. And so you took that and you went with the journalism and you went down that adventure, and then you come all the way full circle back to writing again, which you said you were like, oh, it's probably not going to
Yeah.
work, but now you're here.
Exactly. Yeah, it has been just a trip, and I have absolutely loved it. Like I said, when I was raising little kids, writing didn't seem like even a remote possibility. And I think I got myself into the mindset of like, well, there's so many amazing books, and I love being a reader, and I'm going to continue to be connected to the literary world by being a reader and buying books and doing all these things, but I'm probably not ever going to actually write one. And so, really, it was Donald who reached out to me and wanted to write this book, you know, and so I had to re engage all my creative thinking and work up my finger muscles to be back to the keyboard. And yeah, this has been such an amazing adventure to have my name on a book.
Right. Well, and that kind of segues into the next question, which is where, Don, what made you want to put your story into this book and have this out there for the world?
Uh, uh, Again, I thank Annie for my original idea on this book. I wanted it to be an expose on the airline industry. And Annie kind of convinced me people don't want to know what's going on below the terminal. They just want to be comfortable sitting in that seat and going. And I was pretty set on, I want to tell the world about the interacting of the airline world. And so Annie was reading some of the stuff I've written, and she'd say, I see a memoir here. And I can remember telling her, I don't think I liked myself well enough to write that much about me. And as it turns out, I must. But so I just continued on, and I've considered myself a writer ever since I can remember. But I didn't have the a question a lot of people ask, what's the hardest thing about writing a book? My standard answer is capital letters and periods.
Yes.
So I really needed Annie's expertise to move this thing on. And so she read a few of the chapters and fixed them up nicely. And all of a sudden, the sentences were flowing together and the paragraphs were flowing and the chapters. And I can remember thinking, wow, I think I'm a writer. But, even though I'm relying on her talent to do it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
so that also kind of segues into, and I'm going to jump around the questions I sent you, but writing a book together, how was that? Was that where it just flowed so seamlessly, or did you guys butt heads a few times?
For me, I think it went seamlessly because she really did a lot of the work. And once in a while, she'd write and say, she'd say, "Is this an aviation thing, or do you just not know how to spell this word?" But no, for me, it went very, very well because I did what I'm able to do, and then she turned it into what it is. So now I'm sure she probably pulled her hair out a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I think we worked really, really well together because we came from such different areas of expertise. Like, I didn't know all of the things about aviation. I couldn't tell you, a Boeing from a Cessna. And so it really was like resting on Donald's shoulders to get all the facts straight. And, there was a few times when I would write something and he'd be like, that's not really the way this works, and I'd have to rework it and everything. And so I absolutely trusted him in all of the aviation thing. And he really trusted me on all of the writing and being able to put the stories together and like pushing him at times to be like, well, we need to know more information about this, even though it's like personal and maybe painful to talk about. Like I had to push him to be vulnerable, and we were able to do that.
Yeah, no, it flowed very, very well. I mean, the storyline, the structure, like I didn't find any errors in there. I'm sure if you read any of my books, there's probably still an error, but you guys did so well. I actually So, Don, I don't know if you know this, but you see TA books everywhere. That's because we are a group of four indie authors, which is just a small group of friends.
Okay.
And one of those indie
Okay.
authors is Anthony Drake. He wrote a zombie series, but he is obsessed with planes. And so I gave him a handful of
Wow.
chapters to look at. He
Yeah.
wants to read this so badly. So he
Good.
probably would like a whole book about the inner workings of a plane. But oh gosh, I was going somewhere with that sentence and I don't know where it was going.
It's interesting you say that. Everybody likes airplanes.
Mm.
Whether how many times do you see a guy mowing his lawn and he stops and he's looking up in the air, he's watching that airplane fly over. So I think that just aviation itself has a great appeal to a lot of people. They find it fascinating, and I wanted to write this. The pilots would enjoy it, but I also wanted the passenger that's sitting in the seat that really doesn't know much what's going on. I wanted them to enjoy it too. So,
Yeah.
and
And I think that's part of why Donald and I worked so well together because I was the passenger back in the plane that wouldn't know anything. And so I had to be able to write it in a way that I would understand it. But then Donald would get the final say because I didn't want a pilot to read this and be like, oh my gosh, who wrote this? They don't even know what they're talking about, which it would have been had I written it alone. So we really needed Donald to be like, okay, a pilot would read this and not cringe. Because, like, if you're a cop watching one of those cop shows, you're like, oh gosh, this is not procedure. And I did not want any pilots to have that, visceral reaction after they read our book. And we've had a lot of feedback from pilots, and they love the book. So thanks to Donald. I think we succeeded in what we were doing. And we've had a lot of feedback from people who have never even flown in a plane, and they seem to really engage in the story too. So it's like technical enough for the pilots, but not boring, hopefully, for people who may not be interested in that and they're just drawn in by story.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was just gonna say, is that I felt like it was a perfect mixture between the two where there's definitely terms in there that I've never heard before in my life, but you explained it in such a way that I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of visualize where that's at, what that means in the aviation world. So as a passenger, yeah, I was able to get like the feel and the story of him as a person and as a pilot, and if there's me in a plane and all these other layers that are involved. So yeah, you guys did a really great job with that.
Oh, thank you so much.
I went back to my hometown. Well, Annie and I both went back for a book signing last year. And it was funny because I'm in this little town I grew up in, and I don't really know too many people anymore, but I felt like, God, everybody knows me now, and I don't know any of these people. So that's that's a price you pay for fame, right?
I'd say you're famous now, yeah.
In that little
There we
town.
go. And our public library actually just named us the book of the month for April. And they did a book club, and everybody came and read our book. And it was really neat to see, like, I had logged onto the library page and seeing all of our books checked out and unavailable on the shelves. And that was such a neat feeling to know that, like, people who are in our hometown were enjoying our book. Because a lot of, I don't know if you picked up on this, but, there's a lot of like, it's almost a love letter to our hometown. There's a lot of, just that nostalgia of growing up in such a small area in Western Nebraska. And I think the people of that area kind of pick up on that too. And I think it's made it, hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely caught on to that. You guys had a lot of love for your childhood and your time there and like where your aviation dream started. And so, yeah, I'm sure people there are just like, oh, I know exactly where that's at. I know him, I
Yep.
know that. And
Yeah.
so they feel connected to it in a way too.
That is true. I do get a lot of that, and then the other side of that is I'll read a review from somebody I don't know, I've never heard of, that lives somewhere far away, and that's another whole side of the thrill of it. Is here's somebody that has no connection to any of this, and they still associate with it, enjoyed it, and liked it.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely a thrill. I mean, this whole the whole writing process, I still feel like I'm newer to it because I just joined TikTok in October. But the whole writing process is such a thrill like that. Meeting new people, having your book inspire people. I mean, having people come back and say like, wow, this part really hit me in a way that you didn't even imagine it to hit you. Just there's so many different ways that book is going to impact you going forward.
Absolutely. And something really exciting that we haven't actually shared a whole lot publicly yet is I think you'll probably remember in the opening pages of this book, it's all about Donald as this young 14-year-old kid who is sneaking into a machine shed and like, he's breaking the law, but yet he turns that into an opportunity to like break into aviation. And so Donald and I have been working on this project, and we're actually creating a children's book. Um, Based on those first few chapters, and it'll be fully illustrated, and it features imagery from our hometown, and it fictionalizes the story a little bit, but I think it's a great way to inspire future aviators.
I
And
absolutely love that.
yeah, and with Annie's art ability, she made little Donnie the cutest little boy I've ever seen in my life. So I can't wait to see.
No, that's so
Yes,
exciting.
I'm waiting on author copies right now.
Oh, so you're even like at that point. Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
We are. Yeah, I haven't wanted to say a whole lot about it because I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never done the whole illustrating thing. So I don't know what these things are actually going to look like. It looks good on the computer screen, but I'll be honest, I'm a little scared of like what it's going to look like. So I don't know when the release date is on that, but we're very excited for this project.
Okay. Well, question, did you want me to keep this cut out until later when you release that, or do
Oh
you
no, go.
want me to
This
blast
is
it?
you get to be the debut
Okay.
platform to
Yeah,
announce to
I love
announce our
that.
exciting news. So
our second book is very close to being released too.
Mhm.
The second book, I'll let Annie tell you most, but it's uh, when we started writing this memoir, I thought when Annie said we need this many words, I thought, gosh, I can't think of that much stuff to write about. It's never going to happen. And as it turns out, the really difficult part was thinking, what do I need to leave out? There's a
Mhm.
bunch of stuff here that isn't going to fit into the book. So we have a short story book coming out now with kind of a lot of the stuff that didn't fit into this book, non-aviation stuff. And I personally think it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever written. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Annie did the magic to it.
That's exciting
It
because I
is
found myself.
absolutely hilarious. I just finished the final edits and uploaded it at KDP. So I'm waiting for my proof copy at this point, but I must have read all those stories like 5 or 6 times, and I laughed every time, which I think is saying, I mean, they're not my stories, but like they are funny enough that they kept me laughing every time that I read them. So I think this is the perfect book to come out right now. I think the world is so stressful. There's so many crazy things in the news, and I think this book is just a moment of escape into comedy. And it's that book is called The Ding Dong Altar Boy, and it should be on the shelves by July 1st, but we actually have applications open right now for ARC readers. And so if anybody's interested, they can go visit my link tree and TikTok if they're in there, or they can find me at my website, which is www.annahenkensschmidt.com. And there is an application on my website for people to sign up and to become an ARC reader.
That is so exciting. Yes, and I will have, you know what, I'll even clip this little part out and stick it on TikTok so that I can get some more views. But that was actually one of the
Thank
questions too,
you.
is I didn't last you had talked with Greg that I was in the beta read stage. So I didn't know if you were gonna do the ARC read, but that means it's so close to publishing, and that's
Well,
very exciting.
Yeah, Donald already has speaking events lined up back
Yes.
in our hometown in July, and yeah, we're super excited for our launch event.
Yeah, absolutely.
it has been. I tell Annie, I walk around with this smile on my face all the time now. Last month, I was on one of the local news stations, the ABC affiliate, local here, and did a little interview. And my phone rang off the hook for a couple days. People's, hey, I saw you on television. You know that. I never thought I was ego affected by my ego that hard, but man, that's fun. That's
No,
fun.
take it. Because
They
these
all,
are your stories that you're sharing with the world. I mean, if people are relating to
yeah.
it is kind of weird feeling people seeing those raw pieces of you, but it's such a fun, it's just, I can't explain it, obviously. And I'm an author, so I should have words, but it is such a weird feeling, like you said, to
Yeah.
have people reach out and be like, hey, I saw you doing this, or I read your book
Yeah.
about this an intimate moment. And you're like, stop.
And my daughter's a psychologist, and she called up one day and she says, "Are you enjoying being famous, Dad?" And I him well, or and of course from the psychologist, she said, "Enjoy this, enjoy every second of it." This is, and I'm learning to do that. And like I say, I've got this big smile on my face all the time. So
That's good. No,
yeah,
you deserve it. That again, this putting it, it's such a, I keep saying raw as a thing, but it is such an intimate thing to put your story out there and for the world. And so, yeah, enjoy it. This is all for you. You and Anna.
well, the fact that you read it in one night, that's a compliment to us both because I always when I read, I want something I can't put down.
Mhm.
I want something that I stayed up late and read, or that I can't wait to get back to it. So if you read it in that short a time, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Again, I haven't obviously been in the cockpit of a plane, but like being able to just feel inside the story as if I am a passenger on your plane and I feel comfortable and safe. And then also you are hilarious. And Anna did a great job with the sentence structure. I mean, it was just, I couldn't put it down. It was such a good book.
From another, but the best compliments are compliments from people in your field. Like if a pilot tells you nice landing, that means something. If a passenger says it really wasn't that great.
Yeah, and you're like, well, you're alive, so shut
Right.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I loved your little your jokes that you would do over the PA system and just it cracked me up. So many of the things I was like, I want to be on this plane
If
so bad.
there's anything I miss about the airline world, it's having that microphone and that captive audience that can't leave.
Well,
That's
it sounds like you need your own
that's
podcast.
yeah. We've talked about that. I think Annie would be very good at interviewing, and I'll be that funny guy on the side, that,
My
Well, and
journalism training could actually be used again.
yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say, Anthony was actually just saying, because I was talking about how I had this interview coming up and he was so excited because he really loved this book. But he was like, I really don't see, and he's all into the podcast world. He's like, I really don't see a lot of podcasters that are well known that interview other authors. And so I think that's a very new
Mm,
thing happening right now, is that we're having these indie authors interview other authors like me and Greg. And there's others that I've seen as well. But I think that is like a whole new world of talking about people's books and breaking them down and making it more personable than just someone who published a book and then went on with their life.
yeah.
But yeah, I could easily see the
yeah.
dynamic there. Annie or Anna being the interviewer, and you just slide in some little jokes here and there. Done.
I think one thing too
Well,
that's happening nowadays is we are so bombarded. I mean, you watch television and it's the screen is split and there's a trailer going underneath and something underneath and you can hear the noise outside. But I think people are gonna slide back to a thing where I can get somewhere quiet and just read a little bit and escape into whatever world, or at the very least just concentrate on one thing for a minute. I think
Hmm.
today our brains are so full of junk that we need that. We need people to get back into actually reading a book or listening to a book. I worry about there's that thing. I'm sure you've seen it going around on social media, but it's this young baby, probably 6 months, and he's got a book in front of him. He's using his finger trying to turn the page. He doesn't know about turning the page.
They have, I mean, the Crinkle books. Like they have books to start very, very young. So like that should still be invest
Yep,
art. Art is being pulled away from the kids everywhere.
yep,
So
yep,
trying to get it into the kids as early as possible and keeping the screens limited as much as a
yep.
mom can. It's all hard,
for
but it's
sure.
very possible.
I think it'd be very difficult to be a parent today. I mean, I think I had my first cell phone after my kids were out of high school. And so I can't imagine what a parent today deals with that I didn't have to even think about, didn't even know about. I can remember asking my kids, they want an attachment. Now, what's that? Dang it, I didn't, how do I do this attachment? And she'd grab the phone and do it there, Dad. And
Hmm. Hmm.
what,
My toddler has changed my settings on my phone, and I'm like, I don't even know how to fix that.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh. Lynn, I was going to say, we're just so thankful to people like you and Greg who are doing so much for the indie author world. I mean, I think it's a hard place to be in because we don't have like the big fancy budgets. So we don't have the marketing teams. It's just like we're doing it all by ourselves. And so we appreciate that. And I've really been thinking lately about one of the great things about being in the indie author world is when you read an indie book, you can like honestly contact the author directly and have a conversation with them and they're open to that. Like I can't imagine trying to contact Abby Jimenez or somebody to say, "Oh, let's have a talk about your book," because I mean, she can't. Like that's just not even a reasonable expectation to have for someone like that. But you really can reach out to an indie author and be like, "Oh wow, the way that you just like had that cliffhanger on chapter 14 was just mind-blowing." And
Yeah.
so I hope people will take advantage of that. Like read indie books and like connect with the people who are writing them because it is a real gift on both sides.
Yeah, isn't it so surreal? It blows my mind. It really does. Like even this podcast, because you guys are about the fifth podcast, I believe, being able to talk to other authors live like this, like we haven't met in person, we're strangers basically, but at the same time not. Like I feel like I know you.
Hmm.
It's so crazy. And like even deeper with that too, like Don was saying, getting advice from another author. Like I, as an author, have read oh my gosh, words. I have beta read and I have arc read for other authors.
Hmm.
Being able to say like, hey, this paragraph didn't really flow right for me as a reader. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they change that. And then I know later in the published book, I'm like, I helped influence that change. Like that, this it's just so
Yeah.
crazy that we can be integrated like this with this community.
And we're all like working together. Like it's not some big competition. Like if you sell a book, oh my gosh, then I'm not going to sell one. I think we're all like encouraging each other. We're all winning together. Like a book sold for me is a book sold for you. Like we're really making our indie world a bigger and better place and not having to deal with all those crazy publishing companies.
Yeah, well, and I think I don't remember who I said this to recently, but I was like, I had the epiphany that we are in such a unique brand of product that all of our products are different, every single one. Like, unless someone steals someone's
Hmm.
entire book, all of our products are completely
Sure.
different. So there's no reason to have competition because we're not competing against someone who has, I mean, the same exact book, but you might have the same genre, but whatever. This can be a different book. It's gonna be a different story.
And even
Absolutely.
a little bit of competition, I always think like there's always a Burger King next door to McDonald's. So if you want a hamburger, you're going to go to that area. So
Hmm. Yep.
the competition itself could be healthy. Even I liked her books and she liked his, so he's gonna, I just think it's great.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful world. I'm so glad to have you guys in this world too, especially like this connection where Greg was like, "Hey, you guys should reach out to this person and be on that podcast."
Yes.
Yeah.
Who knows where you'll go next? I mean, you might have another podcast, you might make your own, you might, who knows?
Yes, it's been so fun.
The ninth of July, I'm going to be back in Chadron. I'm going to be on their local radio station, and I did that last year. That's so much fun. I used to work there at that station, and I used to interview people on air. Now to walk in as the guy going to be interviewed, that's a whole different level and a whole different set of fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, you're on the other side now.
yeah, exactly. Finally on the inside looking out.
Right. Well, that kind of goes into the next question too. So you have your second book. It is in art read stage. It's very close to coming out. You have the children's book, which is very exciting. So is there any ideas for future books? Like, did you just get bombarded with ideas, or are you guys going to take a break after these two books?
Annie cannot take a break. I don't know how much she wants to announce to the world, but no, we're deep into several projects in addition to what we.
Yeah. Yeah. So I currently have a book that's in the beta reader stages. And this one was heavily influenced by Donald, but it is, I guess we would say it's my own book, but
Yep.
Donald was a huge, huge part of it. And this is veering away from the nonfiction world. And this is actually going to be a sci-fi Western. I don't know if that's an actual genre, but it has kind of, this futuristic feel, but there's also kind of like a cowboy feel to it. I'm not sure if that's the right word. But yeah, Donald was my alpha reader and he liked it. So I'm excited to start sharing it with other people.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
And I love science fiction. That's if I could do what I want to do with my life, it'd be to write science fiction. And because I have 1,000 ideas bounce around my head all the time, and sometimes I just have to sit down and get these out on paper, so they leave my brain for a little bit. I like to write music too, and sometimes I'll hear a song in my head, and if it doesn't go away, I think I have something here. And then if I can play it a little bit, okay. Finally, I have to write it down, and okay, that's how I know I've got something. So
Hmm.
so at
Yeah,
some
I had
point,
been,
yeah, at some point, my brain's going to empty enough that I can have rational thoughts. But
yeah, Donald kept talking about, oh, we should write a science fiction. And I kind of balked at the idea because to me, science fiction is really hard. Like it seemed like, I don't know if I can do that. Don't you have to be smart to be a science fiction writer? Turns out you just have to have good research skills. But I got stuck on this concept of like, okay, God created man. What happens if man then creates a goddess? And so this whole idea of, we are turning, or the society that I've created, like turns away from the creator and starts to worship something that's created. And it basically what happens after that happens. And yeah, so I'm super excited. I think there's some really neat concepts that I explore in this new book. It's called Chameleon Flowers. Haven't settled on my cover design or anything yet, but there's also some information about that book on my website too.
Wow, that's exciting. That I love that. So is it kind of like the goddess would be an actual figure, or is it like an AI type of thing? Or do you want to keep that private?
Yeah. So yeah, it is actually a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
I love that.
with a
That's
lot of
exciting.
science fiction, I think this one has a niche. It's unique. It's not, a lot of science fiction. I read the first couple paragraphs or watch the first few minutes of, and okay, I know what's going to happen. And this one you don't know. It changes enough, and that's what when I read science fiction, I don't want to know what's happening. I want to be surprised each chapter.
There's a little bit of a thriller undertone with this science fiction book too, I think it's fair to say.
When Annie would get stuck on something, my common thing was, "How about if a radioactive spider bites him?" And he never put that in for me, but
Every single chapter. Okay, is it time for the radioactive spider yet? I'm like, oh my gosh.
It sounds like
Anything
between
but that.
Between Superman and radioactive spiders, Don wants a superhero book at some point, and he wants to be the main
Yeah.
character, which is
I
totally fine.
I think so. I think
Okay. Ooh,
this is
superhero
for a
book.
book.
Thanks, Lynn. We'll have to explore that
Yeah,
concept.
there is one of those bouncing around in my mind right now.
Sorry, I just made more work for you guys. But
Could
oh,
also translate into a children's book. Hmm.
There you
that's
go.
true.
Yeah,
That's true. Well, speaking of work, so Donald, I don't know if Anna explained to you, but I have this little segment called Artworks, and so I ask people on TikTok to give me three random words, and then I give it to you guys, and
oh,
you do anything art related with it. So I gave Anna the words, and I didn't. Did you still want to do that today?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So the words that I gave you guys was illustrious, cheese, and sea salt.
Yeah. So as soon as I thought of these words, I'm thinking haiku, but
Ooh.
then I never actually did anything about that. Instead, I pivoted it back to Donald, and I'll let him share what he came up with in a second. But I have had this whole concept with in writing the Ding Dong Altar Boy and thinking about what is story, what is creativity. And, this is in the afterword of our book, The Ding Dong Altar Boy, but I was really contemplating about how not everybody tells stories with words. Like Donald and I, our mom, she told stories through homemade bread and cinnamon rolls and peanut brittle. And people often share stories without speaking, and you just have to be on the lookout for it. So I think the concept of art and story and creativity like goes beyond just like what's right in front of our face or things that we can see or hear. So then I'm gonna kick it to Donald because I'm the one who offloaded this part of the interview onto him.
She sent me the three words, and I never know exactly what she's getting at. She sent the three words. I didn't know it was associated, but it popped right into my head. Annie, what we have here is a exceptional seafood pizza, and we're on the East Coast. We're on the shoreline of Maine, enjoying it. That's the picture I painted with those words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're all about like, ooh, we're gonna have a seafood pizza and it'll be a recipe, and that's gonna be our contribution to those three words. It'll be an illustrious pizza, and it's gonna have a lot of cheese on it, and of course, a lot of salt.
No, that's such a great idea. Like a recipe is a form of art too, so that totally makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, cooking is creation too. Like Donald and I both pretend to be chefs, I think, and come up with all sorts of crazy recipes that we bounce off of each other and try for the
Yeah.
betterment or worse of the people around us.
I do really enjoy cooking. It's one of the most relaxing things I've done, and I like what I end up with most of the time.
Let's say you probably had a lot of experience with the crash pad cuisines besides the Tupperware that was padlocked.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, with the crash pad world, it's whatever's quick and cheap and fast.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Well, yeah, and you're traveling all over the place, and you even said at one point you're like, it was kind of fun, which I would do the same thing, was stopping off at a new place and you have the layover time. And you're like, what is around here? I'd like to try this restaurant or what's trending in this area.
This wasn't in the book, but one day there were several crash pads, and we decided to have we called it an airline dinner. And we just, wherever we were, and we're coming back in, somebody brings from where somebody bring in like New York cheesecake, somebody else would bring in Gulf shrimp, somebody else Chicago pizza. And we just all brought that in one afternoon. It turned out to be a kind of a fun barbecue type day. And
Yeah, absolutely.
that's not even the book. I just remembered that this second. So
That's a potluck I'd want to go to. That sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah. I have friends that just want to go to different like restaurants in the same area, but you are like, let's go different cities and
yeah,
bring it all in. Well,
yeah.
and we do have 3 minutes left. So before it gets too late, I do want to put in your guys' plugs really quick for social. And you talked about your website already. I'll have all that down below. Is there a social that you're more active on at this point?
I mean, I think we're probably most active on our TikTok site, but you can definitely find us over on Instagram, where_we_land_book. And we also post occasionally over on Facebook under Anna Henkens Schmidt author.
Okay, perfect.
But I would put a plug in for my newsletter too. That's the best way to stay up to date on what we're doing. If you go to our homepage, you can sign up for the newsletter, and we do not spam anybody. There's no annoying things. You just get a newsletter once a month with just all of the updates of things that we are doing.
Perfect. I love that. And yes, people love that. We're not going to spam you, but it is nice to
Yes,
hear
I
of
promise.
the
I
updates.
promise.
No, that's so
Exactly.
exciting. You guys have a lot coming forward, and this book, I mean, it's just where it's interesting that it's where we land because you are now you're taking off now. So you haven't even
Oh,
landed yet.
Uh,
You're using that
that is so
analogy.
true. We don't know where we'll land.
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. I know an airplane will eventually come down. That's something we know. But at this point,
Hopefully, we don't run out of gas.
yeah. Well, it's called fuel in the aviation world, but
Oh gosh.
uh,
See, that's
yeah.
glad I have an
Well,
editor.
there are home-built airplanes put car gas in them, so I guess we're.
Okay, okay. Good point.
I really appreciate the invite, and
Yeah.
I love doing
Yeah,
these.
thank
We
you.
made this a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you guys enjoy this.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Lynn.
it's really fun talking to you guys. I probably will have Anthony once he gets done reading this. He probably wants to talk to you, Don, about all kinds of stuff. We were talking
Great.
about how
Oh,
the authors like to
yay.
talk. He was just
Anytime.
geeking.
You can't interfere with my time anymore because I'm either can't answer the phone or I've got all the time in the world. So
Right.
I
All right,
think
yeah, put him in
it's a
contact
bit
with us.
envious of me and my lifestyle because I don't have a lot going on anymore. It's all about what I think's fun and what I want to do. Where Annie still has the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Yeah, I feel that, and I envy you, Don. But enjoy that because you've gone through a lot and you've experienced a lot, and this
Yeah,
is time for you to relax and enjoy this being famous.
yeah. Don't let those kids eat you alive because they will.
Oh yeah, yeah.